Hello, everyone. This is Genevieve here. Thank you for joining me. And after such a long time that I disappear from YouTube and social media, that is the first time I started a podcast with my dear friend and colleagues, Shannon. And as always, that is a very interesting podcast. Our conversation regarding soul contract is just flowing beautifully. And so I just want to make a little introduction before we go into that podcast in explaining why I've been away for so long. As you know, some of you may know that I have been concentrate my time in writing books. My first poetry book, that title Mary Magdalene Speaks. It is a channel poetry book that I have been collecting in the last few years. And I find all of them are speaking with such a heartfelt feelings, the teaching that I have been channeling with Mary Magdalene, not through me. She's not talking through me. Mary Magdalene is talking with me through my own experience, and in each poem reflect a certain stage, a certain emotions, and a certain lessons that we can learn from our experience. So it should be ready by mid-April. And with that, I should also start a series of podcasts talking about these poetries, the contemplation, the lessons, and the teachings of it. So I hope you stay tuned with my channel, and please enjoy this beautiful conversation I have with Shan. Thank you.
Hi, welcome. This is Genevieve and Shannon. Genevieve and I have, it's been a year, almost a year.
More than 6
bit
months
more.
for sure. Yes.
Yeah, that we did a first talk together, and after some time, we are back again to just discuss this shift, this transition we're in, some of the energies, like how to connect to our souls. What inspired this conversation is I've had some interesting personal experiences with like energy coming through that is not invited, not welcome. And as we open ourselves up more, like spiritually, we are more vulnerable. So we're talking about like practical ways to navigate these times, as especially like right now, that's March 6th, we're in a lot of Pisces energy. And so how to strengthen all of who we are, step into all of who we are, and also understand soul contracts, how to rescind them, how to honor them, how to be in honor. And that's what this talk is about today, is just for me, and I'll let Genevieve speak. For me, I want to stay open to all of our abilities that we have not fully come into, the psychic abilities, the telepathic abilities, being more empathic, yet also having boundaries and knowing when to say no, because the shift that we are in, some people are not choosing to take care of themselves and shift with us. But that is what we are here to talk about, and whatever else comes up. Genevieve, what do you want to add?
Just as always.
As always.
Yes. And I'm so happy to come back doing podcast and with you. And I think I have been away from YouTube and social media for 4 months, 6 months. And and to come back very slowly. And
Mhm.
2 days ago, when I saw your video on soul contract, I was like, oh my goodness, that is something I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
It is a very deep and difficult topic to face for us, like especially when we are dealing with people that we truly love, especially like family members, friends
Mhm.
for years that we care so much about. And if you want to remind us of that last video that you have done, what was the main theme of it, and
Mhm.
how you were like tackle this problem first? Then we see how we move from there onwards.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know how much I shared in the video, like my personal experience. It's been 2 weeks, actually. This is like recent, like 2 weeks, where I was getting ready for bed and I was brushing my teeth and just something came in. And I was like, oh, this isn't mine. Like this energy, this entity is not mine and it's not welcome. And I got really nauseous and I got really scared because I was taken off guard. It was surprising to me. And it was so strong and so intense that I threw up, like just projectile vomited like 5 times. And I meditated and I prayed, and it took me just some settling down that I slept fine. And when I woke up, well, I won't give the details because I don't want to like expose anyone, but I knew exactly who it was. And it's somebody that I have been overly giving to where 8 months ago, like these messages came in. It was like God was like, stop trying to soften others' fall. Like, really stop interfering with their path. It's not your burden. They like everyone has to like pick up their own cross, pick up their own sword, and fight for themselves. Like we can't do it for them. And so it was this individual where I was like, oh, okay, yes, I keep softening their fall. I keep in a way that I thought was being of service and just being helpful. Yeah, I felt that they really wanted to do better. They really wanted to heal. They really wanted to take responsibility for themselves. But now in hindsight, they actually weren't taking any steps towards it. And I just kept giving and giving. So that like that message when that came through was like, okay, like stop. You're not helping. You're hindering your own path, and then this person needs to fall. So when I had that experience, I knew who it was, and like the soul contract and everything. Like I've known this, I've read about it, but also my own messages and intuition was really, I mean, this is like we're here to evolve. Our karmic relationships are, we either heal them or we repeat them. And one of my healing is the savior complex. Like I can handle more, I'll take on more, I'll take on other people's burdens and I'll make it all better. Like that's that love you were talking about. It's like loving others and learning to that real true love is seeing others, seeing everyone as an extension of the creator, seeing the creator in all. So that just really came to me. And that when that happened that night, just like 2 weeks ago, it was, oh, this is that residual karma. This person was going through something and they were pulling on me. It's not as it's an evil entity, it's desperation. And we're in these times right now where people are so chaotic and crazy right now. And the shift, it's so like climatic that there are going to be people that are pulling on us energetically, and it's about boundaries and knowing how to lovingly like no, this isn't for mine to carry, and to let others be done with that karmic relationship. That is the soul contract. That is our growth and evolution in this incarnation. And just, what came to me was like, oh, this is the residual. They're still trying to pull me in because they're in a moment of desperation. And then, so that kind of came to me. I made that video, and then it happened to me 2 days ago, came through again. And I like lost like my vision. I couldn't see. I could feel this energy, this entity like coming into like my body, and it's almost like a possession. I know a lot of people are trying to sort through. I've been seeing some other like podcasts of people questioning like what is possession, what is like demonic like takeover and possession. And to me, there's like the difference. So I'll just stick with this one of those that we love. It is this desperation of fix me, save me. I can't do this on my own. I'm not strong enough. And then the love is for us to hold that boundary and just like, yes, you are. So when it came through the other night and I talked about like rescinding the contract, I felt that energy and I like my vision, everything. And I knew exactly what it was this time. And I simply was like, I am holding my boundary. I'm not going to cave. I'm not going to like weaken myself and weaken the other. I tried like reaching out to them or helping them. It was simply, I'm going to get through this, knowing that I'm the strongest presence of love and really holding that boundary. And this is, as I was saying, that residual, like, is there anything for me to, it's like looking for a host. It's like an entity, like looking for a host. Like, are you going to save me? Like reaching out to like being saved. So people who are in desperation right now, looking for the ones that make them feel better, that will cater to them or take care of them, enable them to keep repeating their own cycles. So that to me was really strong, and it's like a message right now because so much is like, we're still splitting, and that path is getting more and more like further apart. You're either going to walk the path of like awakening and coming into your own, or you're going to choose the path of suffering and pain and codependent behaviors. So that
Well, I think I would like to first tackle like going a little bit back in knowing what it is actually soul contract. And as far as I know, that is my point of view, is my perspective, is just one way of looking at it. And of course, there are many other ways in looking at what is a soul contract.
Yeah.
And as I see it, is first of all, we have to believe in reincarnation, that our soul going through different lifetime, coming back again and again for certain lessons.
Yeah.
And those people that we meet, either as a family members, as friends, as colleagues, as lovers, whatever, that we have that invisible thread that pulling us together, that we choose the parents, the family, the background, the country, the race that we are to be born with. And each of them are playing a role that helping us or hindering us in our journey,
yeah,
in our transformation as a soul. And so like with that as a promise that anyone that we have dealing with are here for a purpose, and it is very much up to us how we are learning to communicate and interact with each of these persons according to our circumstances. And with that, I would like to share an experience with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because I was living at 18 years old and moved away to Australia and then to Italy. And to a certain extent, I never really have any real connection with my father. And from a poor family, never really attend school, no real educations, and he was more or less surviving as best as he could. And my childhood was such a chaos and in lack, I would say in this way, in material lack, as well as emotional lack. And but the fact was, when he was dying, after like 10 years of cancer treatment, and when he was dying, I wasn't even there in Hong Kong with him. And but after his death, I met him beyond the veil, beyond this dimension. And it was one of the most significant understanding of what is actually soul contract. So I met him on the other side, and I call it waiting station, where we wait before we go whatever way, either the white tunnels or back to the cosmos, become the dust, back to the source, whatever. And the fact was, he was a young man and I was a little girl when we met in that waiting station. And he was asking me like to forgive him for not being good enough, present enough, or giving me more of what I needed in my growing up. And also to forgive also my mother, who's still alive, and we have a very conflicting relationship. But the fact was, there was a moment before I leave that waiting station, he was hugging me, and it was like I was never hugged by him. We are Chinese, we don't hug, no body contact. But even that, there were some parents a little bit different. Just like with him, we never have this physical contact and this demonstration of our emotions. Anyway, so before I left that waiting station, and he was hugging me, and our forehead was touching. And at that moment, there was a light coming out between our foreheads. And I could really feel that he, as a soul, he is so much more than what was his physical presence in this dimension. And with time, it was already 2 years ago, and with more understanding and of what the soul contract I have with him and my mother as a consequences, that sometimes people come into our life with much lower frequencies than what they are as a soul. And this presence, this frequency, in a way, is a pathway, a lesson for us to learn in order to improve and evolve of the person that we are coming here this lifetime to do. Okay, he was uneducated. He was almost illiterate, can hardly read. And all his life, he was working as a driver, a truck driver. So really, like, social status is really low. What he could provide for a family, for children, was very limited. And from that experience, from that family, I got to see what was actually poverty. What was the lesson from there? Like, should I be the victim of that circumstances and to keep myself in that status of that surviving mode of living? Or should I learn from my parents, my surroundings, with my relatives, and seeing many ugly faces of being a human? And that is more or less also the same as the person that you were talking about. Okay, they come into our life. They have their difficulties. They have their weakness. And when they are in that victim or survival mode and trying to grab a person that they believe to be strong enough, has more power and energetically in a higher frequency, in order to help them, if they are willing, to learn and to heal, to transform, to transmute, and to transform. But the problem is, did I help my father after I evaluate my status personally? I couldn't help him. That was only so much I can do as a daughter. And I can certainly not helping him to understand spirituality, for instance. What's that to do with his survival? If he's dealing with his illness? Do we really need, and I think that is the question you were saying, like, the lesson is, do we really need to keep on giving and keep on hoping from our point of view as the savior that we can save them in a way that we think we can save people, to help them to evolve? But is that really possible or necessary?
So what I'm hearing is, even like after somebody is passed, still like taking a responsibility of helping them evolve in the non-physical, in the spiritual, like as a soul, or clear up the contract or the relationship while your father was still alive. Like not having that, maybe like that closure, knowing how to like rescind, close, clear that relationship to
Well,
move forward.
with
Like
with
that.
my father in particular, in this particular case, we didn't get, I mean, like, in his later years of his life, we get to how can we say, forgive and forgo. Like, we leave the past behind. That is our relationship. He has his life, I have my life. And whenever we can get together, we show each other love, and that was no anger or pity or unjust towards him, of how I grow up. But what I think the significance of that meeting with him is understanding it is somehow even not importance of how we perceive a person of their life path while they are alive. Like a friend, this friend of yours, okay, they have their life path, and whatever decision they make, whatever path they walk down to, is purely their responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's a choice point. But
Yes.
behind that Maya, this dimension where we interact as physical bodies, their soul, at the end, when they go, they still go back to the original essence that they are.
Yeah, and I don't like that's the thing. Like we will never know the depth of that. That's impossible.
No.
So it's about our experience while we're alive. Like to me, what I'm hearing is you had closure with that visit with him, and you were able to, yeah, find closure in that and find peace and find love. And that is part of like soul contract, but really it's like we still alive. What relationship patterns are you still attracting? What relationship, like this was the relationship pattern that I was attracting, and learning from is like take it back to, if I think of like what like soul purpose or what my mission is, or like reincarnating the south node in our chart along with Saturn, that if like you look at the astrology is going to show signs of what we are, like the continuation of our soul's evolution. And to keep it like really simple, well, we're going to have relationships and experiences that we learn and evolve from. And like the soul contract part is people that carry the frequencies, or like you said, like the family dynamics that we chose to be born into. We're going to be a frequency match outside of that. But if we have unhealed relationships with our parents, then we're going to be attracting a certain type of individual that's on that frequency for us to harmonize that which is within us. So that, I mean, there's many moving parts, but for like the rescinding the soul contract is when, to me, and this is my own perception and what came to me for the video was, okay, I'm going to keep attracting this type of individual that is going to pull on my heartstrings, that they're going to pull me in, and I'm going to feel really excited and alive around them, being able to teach them things. And I'm talking about this specific individual. Like she wants to hear my podcasts on Spotify. She'll listen to them like 10 times. She's like, I get so much out of them. So of course, like I love that. Partly it fills my ego, and partly I'm like, oh, like she's hearing the message to how to walk her own path. Yet her choices as an individual, she went back into behaviors that were destructive and unhealthy for her. And through that, like I would get pulled back in. It was like kind of like a boundary, no contact. And then she'd want to, like, she would come out of the bad decision, which was a relationship, and then come back around wanting like guidance, wanting help, wanting like my teaching abilities. And when it happened repeatedly, I'm like, okay, that's a soul contract. And it was teaching me to have boundaries, to not carry others' burdens. And I'm responsible for attracting that. And I'm responsible for coming into harmony, saying no to the boundary, because part of saying no to the boundary and coming from love, which people forget, is to not hinder, to not like, let her fall, like, which is now is happening. And again, like she's falling again. And she's like, that's where that energy, like looking for the host, which is me at this time, and that's why she's able to get into my energy, is like I'm still strengthening my energetic field, my frequencies, and saying like, okay, no, this isn't what I want. I'm not responsible for this individual. And when we want to be healers and we want to be teachers and help others, part of that is going to be learning the boundaries, learning that like the giving, learning is if it's not receptive and it is not harmonious, then it's like a boundary is wise. And those are the lessons that we need to learn. And when we say no and have the boundary, any residual to completely learn that lesson, it will come back. months later. Like, I know this from experience, and I know this from coaching others and working with others. If they do not set the boundary, if they do not say no to unhealthy behaviors or like relationships, and they ignore it, everything will be fine. But 6 months later, it comes to a year, it comes back up. Or say you break up with somebody and you get into a new relationship, it will start showing up in that relationship if you have not set the boundaries to not take on responsibility for others, to not try to fix, to not do the work for them, will continue to attract that. So, like, again, setting the boundaries, 6 months to a year, however long, there's still going to be this energetic frequency that we are attracting. Like, is there any room left? Can I get in and pull her back into my story? And me as an individual, it's like responsible for who I am. Am I going to go back in and do all that work that I did with setting the boundaries and saying no, and go back into the repeat the pattern? So the rescinding of the soul contract is standing firm, which is what I'm going through right now with this certain, it's a soul contract, and it can be in any form of a person or experience that's going to pull us down to either not evolve, to not grow, to not learn the lessons. And if we do not stand strong and hold that boundary, no matter how much it's like pulling on me, and like this is a really unpleasant experience for me, and why I wanted to share it, because like I know if I'm experiencing it, others are going to. And now I'm in that space of, no, doesn't mean I won't ever talk to this individual again, yet I'm not going to soften their fall again. I'm not going to repeat my patterns that were unhealthy that I was not recognizing, because I was thinking like, oh, just love everyone, right? Like, that's some of the spiritual bypassing that I think we are, like you and I have talked about, that we're learning. Love is a no. Love is unpleasant at times because it's like to end that suffering. Like, love is, I don't see myself as better than you, just like your childhood experience, like poverty gives us the lessons. I grew up in poverty too, but that helped me. I'm not better than anyone else. That's seeing the creator in everyone. And that is like this spiritual bypassing that I'm talking about. It's like, I've gone through that, where just love will win. I had to look at what was unloving and continuing to try and take this other person's burden and make it lesser, and thinking that I was loving enough, like my energy was powerful enough to ease their suffering. Not in this case, and not in many cases. Like, what is true to me is, if we're going to look at others as as an extension of the creator, it's truly to see them, no matter how painful it is, that they can get through this if they have the will to want more for themselves. So that to me was, like, in this experience, like the soul contract is to not repeat that lesson, truly see others as capable and able to get through this. And I don't want to repeat that lesson, because I want to evolve. And that, to me, I think we get confused with like what, like selfishness, or like what spirituality is. And it's like, kind of to your point, we are not responsible for others, we're responsible for us. That doesn't make us unloving, that just makes us wise and available to help ourselves and help others shift during this time. And the desperation that people are going to also kind of shows like how powerful for somebody to pull on me that energetically and get into my energetic field, my Taurus field, and break through that, like looking for the hole. that was, I was like, oh, okay, like I get this. I get soul contracts. I get what is meant when like we read in like scripture or hear other stories of these like possessions. It's because and like we, like if we're open, where do we have holes and where are we strengthening that? So is that, am I like putting a
No, no,
pretty
no,
bow
no, no,
around
no.
that?
You are bringing out a point that is so important. Because when we talk about love, especially in the in spiritual perspectives, and as a healer, as a coach, as an astrologer, or whatever service that we are giving, we the basics, the core value is we have something that someone are needing at that moment. So they come into our sphere asking for whatever particular service that we can give, either astrology reading, coaching, whatever. And on the basis that because they need help, so we can help according to our gift, our capacity, and our abilities. Okay, given that, and many times people, yes, they need help, but the very thin distinction is when you need help, are you also ready to evolve from where you're at? Many, and I think from what I experience, what I understand is many like trying to catch help from here, from there, from somewhere else. And that is the bypass, that someone can do it for me.
Yep.
We can guide, we can give advice, we can give information as an astrologer, and seeing the overall essence this person is coming into this lifetime, what lessons they have, south node, north node, descendant, ascendant, their IC, their MC, all that. We can see so many more in that picture of this chart, that 2D chart. It becomes such a story of a person. But at the end of the day, whatever information that we give, it's still up to that person how to receive it and hence to use it on their behalf to expand their horizon and the possibilities in healing, right? Okay, given that, as a woman, as your website and concentrate, as a woman, we have that very manipulated image and understanding. As a woman, we give to a point that we love, to a point that, but we are also talking only about to give our love to that person. What about the love I have for myself? That is what you're saying of boundaries. That I respect myself so much that I cannot love you, share my love with you when I don't know how to love myself. When you're crying or asking for help, is actually trying to hang on my energy, to deplete my energy without really the intention of transformation as a final goal for who you are. Why I am sharing my energy to you with. And because we are women, let's say it clear and loud. When we do that, when we hold our boundaries, when we have so much love for ourselves, you the bitch.
And that's because we're like, we've had this, like the blind spot, like we've been deceived And that's kind of what this shift is about, awakening to all of who we are, because we've been deceived and like manipulated, like all growing up, not even our parents' fault. But we are born into this earth experience right now, which has been very uh, manipulated. It's been perverted. It's been turned upside down. And we're awakening to that, realizing, oh, what we were told a loving woman is not love. It's weakness.
Yes.
It's codependency. It is not using our mind, not using our intelligence, but just like focusing on everything that is outside of us, where the spiritual journey or the evolution is to go within and be like, and to learn those difficult lessons, because there's no playbook for it. The playbook is to keep yourself in a lower mentality, a lower life experience, and we're coming into a higher life experience that is true love, unconditional love. And I'm going to love you because you don't know how to love yourself. It means like I don't know how to love myself, so none of us really know how to love, yet we're going to call it love all day long. It's like, if you loved me, you would change. If you loved me, you would do this. If you loved me, you would stay small and weak with me. And that enabling, and that we're learning, and that's what kind of awakening is. And that as a woman is like, whoa, that's like that is a big shift, and like the strength and the courage, the boundaries, and the saying no, and being called the bitch, and having people attack us because we are taking care of ourselves. And the only way for us to take care of others is to truly, as women, take care of ourselves, so we can be strong and teach others to be strong and to be loving and to responsible, mature. Like, that's a great word lately. Like, we're maturing. We've been so immature as a society, and as we awaken, we're really like, oh, wait a minute. Like, we have been deceived and blocked off from a lot, and now that we're awakening to this, it's very challenging because, as you said, it's unrecognizable, and it is like, wait, I want, and like other people, and why this is important right now is like because of this shift, and people aren't taking responsible for themselves. They're coming at others with unloving behaviors or expecting them to be a certain way. If you loved me, you would do this, but learning like that's not love. So when you start saying no, that, again, going back to that host pulling on you, going to try to pull you back, say, no, stay here in this hell with me. Because if you leave me, and if I run out of people to bail me out, I'm going to have to be responsible for myself. I'm going to have to look at my own behaviors and what is unloving. So that it's, and many people are awakening and coming out of this. So it's very symbolic too. It's like there's going to be desperation and people looking for like, no, don't leave me, because if you leave me, that's one less person that I have to stay in this darkness with me. And that's this shift in this individual. But almost a year ago, it was on the eclipse where I don't know if I shared this or on the last podcast, but it was the bars are closing. It's like last call for alcohol. Like, the bars are closing. And I don't know, it's like a dream or just something that came to me. And I'm like, oh goodness, like this is it, because people are going to be looking for that next bar to go to. Like, if this one's closing, like I don't want to sober up. I'm going to find somewhere else to go and get drunk and not face myself. And that, to me, it's like we are continuing, like the bars are shuttering, and that is like the analogy of all the places to run and to hide and to distract yourself, and to like the addiction, like the last degrees of Neptune and Pisces, the addict and the illusion. It's like waking up out of that, and there's this desperation of like, no, 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 no. I don't want to be responsible for myself. I don't want to wake up out of this. And yeah, and I think this year is going to be like big for that, because people will be choosing, they're going to be stuck in that illusion Like you and I, for instance, like look at how much we've transformed in the last year, and just kind of like coming out where we've talked about, and just the illusion of, oh, I'm not human, I'm from another planet, so that's why I don't fit in here. Well, that's an illusion to not be present and not fully be engaged in this life experience, this incarnation, and walk as a man, walk as a woman. No, I'm from a different planet. I'm from out there. I don't belong here. That is this
Escapism.
escapism. That's this Neptune and Pisces. And many people are going to stay on that path, which is fine. It's like everything's a choice, yet that is the escapism, the illusion, the addiction, the not wanting to face reality because it's painful. And that's where, like, for me, like the compassion comes in, and where like, to be aware of what true compassion is, because sometimes my compassion will get lost in unloving behaviors where I don't want anybody to suffer, yet that's part of like to suffer and to not want to suffer anymore and to come out of that. And to me, like, this is the where we're going with all the air and fire energy and Aries energy that we are coming into. It's like to come out of that illusion. It's so many they're going to stay in that cycle because it's too painful for them to face themselves.
Well, I think going back to soul contract, the essence of soul contract, that we have interaction with certain people. After my father, another very fundamental, important lessons that I have learned to be on my own sovereignty and to learn how to love myself was when I decided to leave Italy. Since now it's already 1 year and a half, in 2023. There was so much reason for me to remain and to stay in Italy, especially regarding my son. As a mother, I think that was one of the most difficult decisions a mother can make, of just going away. And he was, if I ever stayed, he would be my only reason that I would stay. But my soul was crying, was screaming for a change, to rediscover the person that I could have been and should have been after many years. Regardless, it was a good marriage and a happy life for so many years, but at the end my soul was arriving at that pivotal point that I was simply suffering. My body was suffering, my emotion was suffering, and everything else. So the decision to really take this stand to, okay, I have my contract with my children forever in my life, as long as I live, until my last breath, with my children. But the fact that when I decide to go without no consideration, I have consideration, but at that moment I have more consideration for my need as a person. So I left, and it changed the dynamic of the contract that we have written before they were born as my kids, right? So the contract itself is also a forever evolution, evolving with the decisions we made every day. When we take our stand and value the person that we are, we change the dynamic of this contract. And it's up to the other person to decide, should I keep on blaming you for leaving? Or should I take this also as an opportunity for myself to grow up?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I left as a mother without fearing that it's not an abandonment to my kids. It was a need for me to rediscover myself. And it's the consequences, because they take it as a positive lessons and they see their mother have the guts, the courage at my age to go out and do whatever that I was searching for without idea, and they themselves evolve too.
Mm-hmm.
And in this friend of yours, while you are standing firm on your ground of knowing, you cannot come to me just to drag me on.
Mm-hmm.
I am showing you what is really a real love. First, for yourself. If you love yourself so much, you need to learn yourself so much. So you will make the necessary effort in order to heal, to all your wounds, all your addictions, and transform to a person that your souls come here to be with, to be.
Yeah, and like what I think you're getting at and what I'm hearing is, okay, there's certain soul contracts aren't going to be broken.
Yes.
Like your children. And others are like our lessons to evolve, like who we are. Yet it is what I like to call and like teach. I think one of my first YouTube videos is for love and from love. So for love would have been you staying and suffering. It's like, no, I'm a mother, I can't leave my children. From love is like, I love you. I want to do this for me. I'm doing this for me. It doesn't take away the love.
No.
That's from love. You're doing it from love, knowing that it's painful, yet you're still going to do it. For love keeps us stuck. So those are the differences as well. And like there's some too, and I think more of like people that can reach in and pull you down. It's so interesting. Like I also have somebody in my life that like they have full permission to come into my energetic field. That's a contract that will never end. Like there's certain contract, like they will not end, yet there are certain contracts that, again, in this part where we rescind, where we pull back, like null and void, to like that was kind of the topic, the essence of that video was not your family members, not people that have left, but those that the everyday life that is keeping us in these patterns, the lessons we're supposed to learn, and to just like, no, I'm done. That doesn't mean there's no room, and this is to be discovered for me. It doesn't mean there's no room for this person in my life. It just means like the dynamics and the lesson learned, that contract is null and void. I've learned that lesson, and I've learned how I can hinder my own path and others' path. That contract's done.
Yes.
That contract is the lesson. It's not so much the relationship and the bond that we have with certain people that can never be broken. Like to me, like the contract is like the lessons. And again, this is what comes to me. Doesn't mean I won't have more insight on this later, or when we pass and we leave this body and we're truly free. That it's like, oh, we either could have been kind of close to having this understanding or way off. Like we could just like explore it and like learn the lessons and share the lessons that we're learning. and the process. But yeah, like for like your family, like your children, that's even like that's evolution. And there's something very, if I like think about my own process and how much I've changed in my own moves from like where I'm at now to where I was, of like I feel like I have lived like 6 lifetimes since then. And some people I continue on this journey with, on this path. Like you and I feel like really we've only known each other for a year. And I feel like that year went by fast, but the connection that I have to you like transcends that. So it's so I think there's such like nuances and there's so much mystery to it as well. But yeah, I think like that's beautiful, seeing your children and doing something that took so much strength and so much courage to like, go from Italy to America, and your children, yeah, making that decision and having seen it transform and change. Like that's amazing. And to me, like that is love, because who there will be a time where you all look back at that, be like, wow, look at how far we came. Wow, like look at how much like we evolved and how much we got to experience, rather than staying in the fear, which would have been staying in Italy.
There is one really nice story of describing that. Is like we all, I think we have all heard about it, of being in a bus, right? The difference of this version that I heard is, instead of you being the bus driver, you don't even drive the bus. The bus is just like this cosmos, and the driver could be your higher self. We, inside that bus, we were just at the back seat, sitting there. We never get off. We go the full journey with that bus, wherever it goes. And people that come in and out, they may stay for one stop, they may stay for two stops. Depends on our interactions, the contract that we have. If we have learned the lessons, they get off. And there are people that meant to stay with us a whole lot longer. Some people you never cut off, like parents, family members, sisters, children, whatever. Even though in that is a much harder lessons for us to understand our dynamic and interaction. But when we change, that dynamic also change between us and our family members.
Yeah.
To be an observer at the end of the day, to be an observer at the end of the bus, it changed the perspective of how we look at things. Instead of the bus driver, that we need to have control.
Yeah. What about all the people that get on the bus as well?
They get in. They get in on their own will,
Yeah.
of their own consent.
And
With the contract that we have together.
yeah. And I too, it's like there's another part of this as well, that there are some people that cannot continue in this lifetime with some of their family members, some like no family members, and that is real for some people. There's certain family members that I have parted ways with. I hope we come back together. We might not. And I'm at peace with that, though. And I think there's like a lot of people, I would never close any doors permanently. I think that's another thing that's happening is sometimes we get so reactive in relationships and want them to be over, or think we're burdened to them for a lifetime, that there is room in that as well. And to not be afraid talking about soul contracts or like relationships and like endings and learning lessons. There, like so much fear can come into that. And I think that's part of, like you said, like the bus drivers, like the cosmos is not worrying about that. And if we do talk about incarnation and is that truly what this is all about, then it's never ending and we'll keep reincarnating and like it's ongoing. So there's like to let go of the fears around topics like learned lessons or soul contracts or oh my goodness, if I don't feel like this was healed or had a closure in this relationship, that is okay as well, and that is an experience as well.
Well, even with family members, even those that we severe a certain connection, I think from a higher perspective, it doesn't really saying you don't love them anymore. You still love them. As far as the family member concerned, it just in these physical circumstances, at this moment in time, because I love myself so much, I know who I am, and at this moment in time, is not possible for any interaction because I am not going to let anyone keep on hurting me.
Mhm.
That is not love. I love you, but I just physically cannot have any more connection with you because at the end of the day, I love myself so much. And and having the courage, like this instance, as you say, like being in the bus, you can also open the door for people to get off, even when they want to stay longer.
Nope, this is your stop.
Yes,
This is your stop. Get off my bus.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, there's oftentimes as well, it's like it's getting to a place where I have to have this boundary right now, and I always am very aware that my boundaries sometimes are going to have to be tightened up with certain individuals. And sometimes I'll be in a space and I can't control that where they're not so bound. It's like boundless. Like I can let those down and I can loosen them up. And um yeah, like I found that too. It's just certain times I'm like, oop, nope, this is what's best for me and this feels best, and trusting that's what's best for me is going to be best for others, and not putting that fear into it, just like allowing. And that's a challenging part, is to shut out the noise, like the what ifs, or trying to control or predict what will happen in the future, where that is not possible. It's
Mm.
like only in this moment, like this is what I need right now, and that will change and that will shift. And that's one thing that I've noticed, that with just being more open and just tuning in to like the frequencies that are within me and that are available. But I have like feeling so much of the Pisces, like this is where there's um like playfulness and also like experience and exploration. I don't have anything in Pisces that would be affecting me so much right now. And I know what the characteristics and I know what the frequencies are of Pisces, or I'm feeling it so deeply, where this is coming up and this topic is coming up, because we don't have to have strong, something strong and like a strong Pisces in the chart to be affected by this. Like I said, I have nothing, yet I'm affected by all that is compiled in those frequencies right now, because I'm choosing to be on that bus that has no driver. That the cosmos, like you said, is the driver, and just being in flow with that. So there is room to not bind ourselves so much to that you said earlier, like the 2D, or what, like you were saying, like loving yourself so much that you don't want certain individuals in your life because it's not loving and it's not helpful, like that. It's could change tomorrow or the next day, or the fluidity of that.
Well, I think the lessons in the last 3 years, if we look at it from astrological point of view, with a planet Neptune that has been in Pisces for the last 15 years, if I don't remember wrong, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so, and that opened up a lot of, I think that is where the boom of spirituality, new age, and coming in, because it's
The
so,
star seeds,
yeah, so
yeah,
vast,
yep.
and it's just like an ocean. People just swimming into that bubble of spirituality, and with more creativity as well. So we are like, there's a lot of new gurus, new teachings, and we somehow don't really know how true that is.
Yep.
Okay. But with Saturn coming into Pisces in the last 3 years, and so it's the moment of setting up what are you people are doing, and we are seeing all the many collapse of that so-called guru teachers, new teachings, a lot of nonsense, Kundalini yoga. I don't know how that works. Anyway, I'm going to offend a lot of people.
I have something to say about that when you're done.
Yeah. Anyway, so when Saturn coming into Pisces in the last 3 years, and starting setting up the sort of boundaries that there wasn't any in Pisces with Neptune, and the South North Node in Aries, in affirming that personalities, individualization. Okay, now with North Node in Pisces since the beginning of this year, and they are touching base with Neptune. But the thing is, we are at the analytic degree of Neptune in Pisces, 29 degree. Even though we personally may not have anything particular in Pisces, an outer planet that stayed there for 15 years, at the last degree, when they move between houses and signs, the energy is just so much more potent, double, triple, whatever, depends on how sensitive and how much that our personal chart. And I think the fact is, now Pisces is going into Aries in the 30th, the end of this month, right after the last Aries solar eclipse. It is so significant. After the North Node in Aries since the last 18 months. And all that energies are playing so much. And with Pisces going into Aries, is like that. A few more illusions of how we think we could be as a person in our evolvements. But Saturn is coming right after. And Saturn is going since the last 3 years, and it's going to emphasize even more in Aries as an individual sign. Aries all about I am, right? Should be the first house of the chart. Okay, you can think as boundless, without boundaries, as in the ocean, swimming with illusions. All that illusions, we need to concretize the person that we are. Where do you stand at the end of this day with Saturn? To give, and to give. good. Until what degree? You keep on giving without consideration, without proper discernment. And that, I think, that is that lessons that we are going through so much with Neptune, Saturn, and North Node, South Node, between Aries, Libra, now going into Pisces and Virgo. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. What comes to me is there's so much, like you said, like the Kundalini and the chakras, like there's so many different ways to experience this spiritual connection, right? Like Neptune and Pisces, like that's really exploring our spiritual connection. And as you said, Saturn coming in there with the boundaries, the teacher, holding us to that because like Saturn, it's like you don't pass go until you learn those lessons almost.
Yeah.
So it'll be depending on the lessons learned, how much coming into who we are as individuals will carry over into the Aries I am and Neptune. Like I've been calling it love in action. Like being able to like be passionate and to be like all of who you are and know like experience like love as well. So the Kundalini, like the chakras, like I've been reading the Bible. And then I just started reading, as I shared with you, the Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita.
And really seeing the synchronicities. Like the Kundalini is just another way of talking about and exploring reaching Christ consciousness. So there's all these different ways, and there's so many people saying, like the gurus, what is the right way and what is the wrong way, or the biblical scholar telling others, like, well, here's the, like, let me read the Bible and tell you how other people's interpretation is wrong and I'm right. That is part of Saturn and Neptune and Pisces and all that happening. None of them are wrong and none of them are right. We have to experience it as individuals. And the more we can honor our own individual experience and honor others' individual experiences, we'll be able to carry over to the Neptune and in Aries and that Saturn and kind of start really anchoring down in it and who we are, taking away like the confusion which is causing illusion and causing people to have these trying to fight for what is true when only the true can be found within. And in the Gita, it's Jhana, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It is not having knowledge, like your father didn't have a formal education, but that doesn't mean he wasn't smart or intelligent. That it's like that it's there's levels of education, there's levels of intelligence, and if we're looking out there for what we're told is smart or intellectual, we will be stuck in the lower experience of intellect, where these biblical scholars or gurus or spiritual teachers are trying to tell everybody their way is right and everybody else is wrong. That is an illusion, that is a limitation, and it's simply not true. So to me, like going into that shift and that teacher is knowing self. And more people, like I see now that you've made all those great points about Neptune and the transition, it's going to be like, I am having more confidence in to experience that spirituality, the Neptune, as the individual experience, which is also Pluto and Aquarius, like the individuality, those two really like harmonize with one another. And it will be opening up a lot of opportunity for people to discover for themselves and not be so hung like for others, which is a great, like thinking about the soul contract and rescinding, like that was one of my lessons. I'm not your teacher. You are your teacher.
Exactly. Yes.
So that to me, like, ooh, that's a really, I'm happy we went there because that came through really clear with what you shared, and what came to me is that, oh, Aries is going to be like, I am. I get to have my own experience with spirituality, whether it's Kundalini, whether it's the Bible, whether it's like Krishna is the incarnation of God and the only one, or Jesus is the only one. It's it, it's an individual experience. You cannot tell anyone else, and I fully disagree with anyone saying that their way is not the way, because that is really the only truth. We are the ones experiencing this life in this incarnation.
It is. And I think the ultimate invitation with Neptune going into Pisces, Aries, with Saturn following in just 2 months, it's really like discover your own path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As you say, there is no one definite truth.
Mm-hmm.
But at least in finding your own path, you get to know who you are through yourself, instead of someone telling you who you are, which will never be who you are actually.
No. And that's sometimes like I see it's like, oh my, it's insanity. And there's so, like, we've seen it and we've talked about it before. There's so much attachment to what is the truth, and there's so much attachment to people wanting to be told, and it's never gonna happen. I remember when I first started coaching, one of the things that people would get frustrated with me with is like, no, tell me what to do. Like, I'm not gonna waste my time telling you what to do, because you're not gonna do it. You're gonna do like your own thing, and that it's not my responsibility. What we have, like, that's part of this deception we're waking up to, is we've been told. Think about how, like, school, formal education, the curriculum that was given to all students, everybody's thinking the same. Everybody's doing the same work, no matter what school, learning the same thing. There's no critical thinking. There's no curiosity. And now through this awakening, it's like shocking. Like, what, you don't agree with me? Like, you don't have the same political or religious beliefs as me? Like, I can't talk to you. Like, people can't even handle the diversity in that. Like, everybody's screaming, like, we want diversity, we want equality. Yet, not like, diversity isn't the color of your hair. It's not the color of your skin. It's not the clothes you wear. It's not your piercings. It is, oh, we each have our own way, our own view, and our own perspective. And that is like shocking right now to people, and they can't handle it because it's triggering, because we are exposed to so much. We're used to just watching the same TV shows, hearing the same news, like all the news is the same. And like, now we're finding that all has been lies and manipulation to keep us away from the divinity of who we are. It is utterly shocking. And I think that, like finding the truth, or what is true or what's not, that's one of the things that's slowly going to come out of this, is not being so shocked that people are absolutely diverse. It's like everybody's just been suffering, suppressing it, hiding from it, trying to be who they think they're supposed to be. And that is not trying, being. That's foreign to many, because we try to be better. We try to do this. And I've been having ahas and breakthroughs in my personal life where I'm finally getting through to some of the close relationships. It's like, but you're trying to understand me. And we think that's loving, but you don't understand me, yet you're telling me you do when you do not. It's loving to be like, I don't get where you're coming from at all. I don't understand your experience. But having like the willingness to be curious and be like, but I want to hear about it. That's honesty, that's authenticity, yet there's so much that people are not like self-aware. We're getting there, but there's still like, oh, just be nice, be all love and light, be polite to everyone when that's not how we are. So there's so much confusion right now. It's thinking we're exposed on social media. Like, how dare they? They're they're wrong. They're evil. We're all going to hell because of the way they think or believe. And that's what's keeping everyone in hell rather than, oh, wow, they get to have their own experience. I get to have my own experience.
I think that is what time and time again we come back to do this kind of chit chat, is where we are allowing ourselves and hence the others to find their own way, while conversation like that is so much stimulating. If you see it from a positive perspective, instead of the negative is you are challenging me. I am not challenging you. I am sharing my view. You are sharing your view. Let's see how we come to understand each other.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day is we still connected with what we start with as soul contract is. Rather than my soul contract with the others, what is my soul contract with myself? And I think at this moment, my soul contract with myself, as far as I can understand, as a person, I may evolve after 2 months or 10 years. But as far as I'm concerned, this lifetime, my soul contract with myself is to evolve the best that I can within my own authenticity and accepting the authenticity that is in you as well.
Yeah.
I would love to see how far you can go. That would be just like mind-boggling from here onward. Like we are living in an energy that we have never lived before as a human. So whatever
That we know of. we probably did. We just we don't have any
you
knowledge
just
of that.
forget, all right?
Yeah.
So that is so stimulating. It's a lot of anticipation in seeing how things will evolve
Yeah.
from here onward. And I think the fundamental core message of this soul contract of today, what we are talking is, it's not the love you share with the others. It's not the contract we have with the other, but the love we have for ourselves and the contract we have with ourselves. When we honor that, we honor everyone that come into us. Someone need to get off the bus, so be it.
Yeah. Awareness. Awareness and love, self-realization. Because yeah, I see that. Like when we love and we honor ourselves, then we will naturally do that for others. And we will make tough decisions that are boundary, that are nope, I'm not letting this in anymore. And choosing that. Choosing what we let in and choosing what we don't. Yeah. Beautiful. My dogs are ready.
To get
My
out.
dogs are signaling for us, like they're like, it's wrap up time.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone who watched. Genevieve, wonderful to have you back and talk with you again. I love our talks.
Yes. It's a good challenge. Stimulating.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for having me, and we see.
We'll see.
We see.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Okay.